Welcome back to the Green Yard. It is a somewhat chilly early February morning here in Phoenix, Arizona. Sun's actually just coming up right now over the house. You'll probably see this sunshine drop here in a minute. And we're over in the food forest part of the Green Yard, that tropical food forest. Done a few videos over here this early year in 2024, including tropical fruit trees after a hard frost video. I've been focusing a little bit more though on other parts of the green yard. I just recently did a how bananas do after a hard freeze video, as well as a harvesting a Buddha hand citron video. So definitely check those out if either of those interests you. But the reason I'm over here in the food forest part of the green yard again is to do a growing update. So it's been almost 1 year since I planted our Monstera in ground here in Phoenix, and I want to go through, how's it growing? What have I noticed this last year? How's it been doing with the cold, with the heat in the summer, things of that nature. For those unfamiliar, this is the food forest part of the green yard where we have a lot of our tropical fruiting and flowering trees. Just below the camera here, I have our rose apple, been doing pretty well. I had a little bit of frost damage this year actually, which was uncommon. Last year we had a super cold winter, no frost damage at all. This year it actually got hit a little bit when we had that super cold hard freeze there. Behind me I have our beautiful Hall avocado, doing really well, enjoying these cooler temperatures, actually putting out some new growth here as well. Adamoya underneath its frost fabric structure. We're just in the beginning of February, so everything's still covered up. Will be until probably the end of March, beginning of April, just to be on the safe side. Last year I uncovered everything a little bit early and we got hit with that hard frost and I lost a few trees. So definitely don't want to do that again. So I will be waiting until probably the end of March to uncover everything. Over here by our Monstera, you'll see this a few times. That's our miracle fruit underneath the cover as well, doing very well. Behind this cover here, we have our soursop tree as well as our santal tree. Soursop tree is acting differently this year. This is its third winter in the ground. First winter it did fine. Second winter, which was last year when it was super cold, it actually held onto its leaves pretty much all the way through the winter until the spring. This year it's lost its leaves super early when we had that hard frost. So I'm not sure how it's doing. I'm just going to kind of wait and see in March, end of March, how it's doing, and hopefully it comes back and kicks some butt next year. Also have some Michele alba, loquats, jackfruit tree over there in the distance, African tulip, things of that nature as well. But let's go ahead, let's talk about our Monstera here and how it's been growing in ground for the last year. Here we go. Here's that frost damage on our rose apple. Kind of crazy to see. You'll see that some leaves are affected and were hit with that frost, and then other ones right next door are fine. So it's been kind of an interesting year with frost for a rose apple. I know it's going to come back. I think I need to trim it again though, just because it is kind of growing more like a bush than like a tree. It's kind of fallen over. So maybe do some trimming. If any of you guys are growing rose apples and want to give me some advice on if you trim it, that would be great. It's just kind of like flopping on the ground a little bit there, but it is doing very well. Grew a lot last fall as well. As I mentioned before, here is our Hall avocado, putting out all of that beautiful new growth. See right here, we'll get these new growth right here. I'm hoping this year we see some avocados, even if it's just little flowers and fruit on here. That would be wonderful. The first year I put it in the ground, I did see some fruit form, but I have not seen it since then. So hopefully we get some flowers and some fruit, even if it doesn't hold on. It'd be great to have some of those flowers and fruit on there again. Underneath our frost fabric structure, we have that miracle fruit. doing pretty good, growing slowly as expected, but definitely needs that external heat source and that frost fabric structure to get us through those cold days. About 44 degrees right now here, a little bit on the colder side. Off in the distance, you'll see that loquat. Hoping to get some loquats this year. I don't know. I even hand pollinated some of them, and it doesn't look like the loquats are taken this year. Lots of bees on the flower, just not holding on to that fruit. So kind of interesting. And then, of course, we have that Michaelia alba, which will get some flowers again, probably in late spring, May, June time. Here is our Monstera. It's actually growing significantly since we put it in the ground. Probably put out 5-6 leaves off of that trunk. You'll see this is kind of the newest leaf that we have right now. This big, beautiful monster leaf right here, looking really good. This damage is actually from the summer. So interestingly enough, we lost our passion fruit, our purple possum passion fruit. You can see it against the shed right here. We actually lost that last summer in June. I did a big trim on it, and I trimmed too much, and then we had our record 115-degree heat days, and unfortunately it did die back. I did propagate some seeds though, so hopefully we'll get to plant some new purple possums. But because that died back, we had direct sun right over our neighbor's house here, right above that loquat tree, and kind of that opening in our big giant mother male mulberry tree here that provides all that afternoon shade in the summer. And unfortunately that gap, that sun goes right directly onto our loquat, which is why it has some burnt leaves, as well as our Michaelia alba and this Monstera here. So all of this burnt is actually from the summer. It has not been affected at all by the cold last spring or this year, this winter so far. Even that hard freeze did great, took it with stride. The only thing that's affected it so far is that hot summer sun, when we had that really intense summer sun. One of the other cool things here, and something that I love, have all this leaf mulch on here, but one of the really cool things is that it's actually growing some aerial roots. Not sure if you guys can see that or not. It's right back here. It looks almost like a tuber back here. Those are actually some aerial roots. So I didn't realize before that our monsteras are vines, and they are going to grow up the tree. I knew that when I planted it, which is why I planted it here by this big giant male mulberry tree, trying to get it to grow up the tree just like that dragon fruit that's up here in the corner. That's growing up the tree as well, using it as kind of a living trellis. So I do want it to grow up the tree. I just didn't realize how quickly it would put out those aerial roots, so that's really, really amazing. So in terms of care, I've really neglected this plant in the fall, even late summer. I haven't tended to it at all. I added a little bit of mulch in, kind of mulch it back up. But other than that, I really haven't done very much with it, and it seems to enjoy that neglect. One thing that I am continually doing is giving it that fish emulsion. Once a month, I do give it that fish emulsion. I have added 1 round of sulfur, that agricultural sulfur as well, to try to lower that pH. Remember, here in the Phoenix area, we do have that high pH, 8, 8.5, and most of our tropical fruiting and flowering trees, even our regular fruiting and flowering trees, our stone fruits require a lower pH. So you need to add that agricultural sulfur to lower that pH so they can take up the nutrients that you provide in that soil. So I think that's definitely part of the reason for its success so far. I'm hoping in the next year that we actually see it start climbing up this tree. That would be really, really cool to see. And I'll definitely update you guys next year, 2 years in the ground. How is our Monstera growing? How is it doing? But so far, doing amazing here in this microclimate. I think if I put it outside of the microclimate, it would have died already. But here in the microclimate, in the secluded area underneath this tree, it is doing very well. So if you have a spot that's in a microclimate like this with heavy mulch underneath something protected from that frost and definitely that summer sun, right? Go for it. Plant a Monstera. They're super cool. I know they fruit. I don't know if this is a Monstera deliciosa or not. I just know that it is a Monstera variety. So hopefully it's one. Hopefully it's a Monstera deliciosa and I actually get some fruit off this tree over time, or off this plant, I mean, over time. That would be really cool. If you guys have any questions about our Monstera growing in the ground or any of our other fruiting and flowering tropical trees or regular trees, please feel free to comment below. Let me know. And as always, live green, plant lots, and of course have fun. We'll see you next time.